It is the penultimate night and day of 2025. 2025, by the way, is the perfect square. 45 squared is 2025. It is also the multiplication of squares. I think 81 times 25, which is 9 squared times 5 squared. And there's all these other numerological things regarding 2025, which mean nothing. Now, in the year 2525, according to Zager and Evans, that might mean something. Because remember, what life is always trying to find some message, some reason for something, some explication, something, a sign, fate. That's my favorite. It's fate. It was meant to be. Why do you say that? I don't know. Because it's a lot better than randomness. So we just make up things. And that's what we did today. So much to talk about, dear friends. We're going to be talking about one of the funniest stories, which I promise you're not going to think much of because you may not know the significance of it. But it's Hilaria Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's wife, who is back to the Spanish accent again, did not learn her lesson, as an example of people just not caring. We'll talk about the fantasy, the mythology, the mystical, magical, mythological legacy of Jimmy Carter, and how someone said, I really don't care what he did. And I went through a litany this morning of, I didn't even go through everything. And despite everything, including a newsletter or an email, I went through all of this stuff. Somebody said, I just like his Habitat for Humanity. It's just a picture of him. I don't know where these houses are. I don't know how many he built. That's nice. But it's like, are you kidding me? That's what they remember because that's a picture. Also, we're going to be talking about the end of MSM, mainstream media. Mike Johnson and Trump show some kind of support. Are we supposed to turn our back now on Trump? Because that as well. By the way, Don Lemon is already laughing, as I predicted, not that it matters, over the MAGA group because of what's going on regarding that H-1B nonsense. Bird flu mania, plane accidents, the Department of Education during the Jimmy Carter administration is going to be dismantled. China announces the most incredible rail system that blows my mind. And their train tracks and their Japanese and Chinese and Russian, the Russian too, beautiful compared to our Penn Station. And oh my God, even though we have a nice little Moynihan station, which is nice, but that's going to be trash before you know it. Goes back in the notion of American culture. And also, how many countries do you think have as many YouTube channels on rowdy people getting arrested? Today we dropped into our little local, post office, and Radio City, by the way, famous Radio City. Remember that in the old days as Alex Tutuvar, Radio City station, right there on 52nd Street. And there was a woman in there who may have had a point. And they have a lot of Asian people behind the counter. Very, very efficient. But this one woman was screaming because she was upset. I thought, American culture. American culture. I was watching somebody suggest that even in Japanese culture, you can't walk down the street eating. They get very offended. You never talk out loud in the subway. You never play music in the subway. What do we do in the subway? We set people on fire, of course, illegals. That, of course, is American culture that people are fighting to maintain. So we have a lot to talk about this eve. I'm so glad you're with us. But before, a very, very important and critical message. Listen to this. New reports reveal that the average person has $8,674 in credit card debt. Plus, the total average consumer debt is a shocking $104,215 between mortgages, auto loans, student loans, credit cards, and unsecured loans. Unfortunately, without outside assistance, many will continue digging themselves deeper and deeper into the hole of debt. I've advised and counseled friends and clients for years who want to take back control of individual debt about this secret weapon that has helped so many consolidate everything owed into one affordable monthly payment. They even help negotiate a settlement agreement that will allow you to pay less than the total balance. Listen, they settled over $275 million in debt, and they've helped people become debt-free in an average of 28 months. I've had such an incredible experience referring clients and friends that I wanted to partner with them here and introduce their services to you, my loyal Lionel Nation family. If you want a helping hand to get out of debt, I absolutely, positively, and strenuously recommend booking a free consultation now by going to nodebtwithlionel.com. Look at the address. Once again, that's nodebtwithlionel.com. Use the link I've provided under the title. Listen to me. You can take control and learn how to get out of debt now. Now, my friends, let's talk about something which is so wonderful. And it's this idea that happens when we romanticize. And this is very, very important. It's a trend that we as humans involve ourselves in. We romanticize about maybe romantics, maybe looking back over a love affair that didn't work, or maybe in a marriage or something. And most people don't do that, but occasionally somebody does. And they can have this idea that, oh, this the love of my life. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, but there's this idea. There's this the love of my. Okay, fine, great. Now, sometimes when people look back, you ever talked about people who look back at high school? Wasn't high school great? It was pretty good, I guess. But well, would you want to go back to high school? No. Well, how great was it then? How great was it? Would you want to be 20 years old, 18 years old, 15 years old? No. So what is this thing about? Well, we're going to high school. High school is what? We're romanticizing. We're romanticizing. It also can work the other way around. Oh, it was hell. It's kind of like the negative of that. Oh my God, it was the worst. It was the worst. Law school was so hard, and was so, they go through this stuff, and it's the worst. It's so hard. How hard is it? And then take the bar exam. Oh, the bar exam is so hard. It was so terrible. Worked to work 8 hours a day. And there's always we love to do this. Why? Because we love to frame the past to make it comport with any particular worldview we want now. That's all. It's that simple. It's that simple. And what's also interesting to note is that, remember the notion of what Tolstoy said, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. And I think there's something to be said for that. We look back on so much. Was Jimmy Carter as bad a president? Yeah, he really was. But when you die, of course, you get into this thing called auto-mourn. And I put something together, and I hope, dear friends, I hope you are listening. I hope you are watching. I hope you are being a part of my emails, my whatever you call it, emails, newsletters. I hate that newsletter. It sounds so bad. But there is something to be said for that. And there was something called auto-mourn. And auto-mourn is absolutely positively this wonderful collection of people who remember events that really didn't actually happen. But we look at them in such a way as to think back one way or another. It's this kind of a collective, I don't know what the word is. It's almost like virtue signaling in reverse. And we do it. It's also a kind of a choreographed, participatory form of mourning. Oh, it's so good. He was so great. Oh, no words. I have a friend of mine, especially those friends of mine who were in the music, well, the music business, radio in particular. And there was a time I, for some reason, did not have a camera with me most of the time. I got some pictures here and there, but not really most. But I know other people who have pictures of everybody they've ever met, every star, every person who's ever lived. They've got pictures of them. And what's interesting to note, which I find kind of interesting, is that whenever somebody would die, sure enough, on Facebook or Instagram, you would see this person with the dead person. To say, see, I stood next to them. And this person has done this a million times. Yes, but either way, I stood next to him. I knew him. I feel his death more than you do. So I put together this, and I've always called it auto-mourn and auto-loot. Auto-loot is when people start looting for some particular reason. But auto-mourn refers to the phenomenon of a collective performance grieving that often unfolds in the wake of celebrities' death, particularly in the highly visible and interconnected landscape of social media. This behavior is characterized by individuals, many of whom had little to no prior connection or interest in the deceased, publicly displayed profound sorrow, often in ways that suggest an attempt to align with prevailing cultural or social expectations rather than a manifestation of personal loss. That's what we do. So now people are going to do the same thing with Jimmy Carter, because they're going to see Jimmy Carter was the greatest person who ever lived. Why? Primarily because he's dead. Because he's dead. That's it. Jimmy Carter's dead. So because he's dead, I have to say how wonderful he was and how great he was. And he won the Nobel Peace Prize. So did Barack Obama. Less than an hour. I don't even think he took stuff out of the boxes to even, and he won the Nobel Prize. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And Jimmy Carter was one of the worst. Iran. Oh, go down the list. So anyway, so I don't want to relitigate that, but I thought it was so funny. I loved his work with Habitat for Humanity. I don't even know, is that still running? I wouldn't be surprised if nothing much happened because of it. I know you're not supposed to say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they said nothing ever happened with that. That was a bunch of garbage. But that's who we are. Understand, it's part of the collective thing that we are. Now, I want to say something else to you. And I know you're not going to understand this because it's who you are. And I recognize this fact. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the fact of who you are. I really am. I'm really okay with the fact of who you are. By the way, I did a brand new video. I hope you saw it. Lionel Nation members are privy to this a little bit earlier as it drops. But it was on this very fascinating story of Catherine Harris did a wonderful job detailing with the CIA whistleblower regarding directed energy weapons. They're real. They're real. They're happening. They're absolutely real. And this could very well be the explication, the reason for this thing called the Havana Syndrome. Absolutely 100%. It's fantastic. It's fascinating. Directed energy weapons. What these things can do, can melt steel, can destroy infrastructure. Oh my God, you can take the implications of this. Please, again, I hope I have put a link to the email or newsletter there. I respectfully request that you sign up for that because it kind of gives you an overview of it. Now, before I begin, I don't particularly like Jimmy Carter as a president, but I'm kind of neutral on him as a human being. I'm not glad he died. I don't laugh at him. I'm not like these people who are glad to see CEOs of pharmaceutical company or health concerns. You know, I can't even believe that one. I'm still having a hard time grasping how people can think that. But And today there was a story about Bibi Netanyahu had his prostate, or prostrate, as people say. I always get prostrate and supine. I interchange them. Prostrate, I think, is when on your back, right? Lying outstretched on the ground with face downward. Down should be prostrate, downward, on your back, face downward. And I think supine is the opposite. Supine is this is when you are supine is lies horizontally with face up. So up is supine, down is prostrate. Okay, you got that? Okay. So there was talk about Bibi Netanyahu had his prostate removed, and it was not. I think he had some kind of benign hypertrophy. It wasn't cancer, but it gave him urinary tract infections, and they figured, let us remove. I don't know if you believe it. Doesn't even matter. But it wasn't cancer, and I'm glad of that. But there were people, of course, automatically laughing and calling and howling over his death, because obviously the Middle East, Gaza was going on, and they hate him to the point where they're laughing and howling over his death. I don't do that. I disagree vehemently with the current Israeli policy regarding Gaza, but I don't want him to die dead. I'm sorry. I guess I should, but I don't. I never traversed that. I mean, I guess there's some people in life where you figure, but I've never traversed that. I don't take my politics personally. That's what we do in our country. We take it very, very personally. We're very, very angry about people. Let me go back to Ilaria Baldwin. Okay. This is a woman who fascinates me. And let me see if I can guess. Let me see if I can explain this. The way I think it is. Alec Baldwin was a guy who really had it made. I mean, really, he was the handsome one of the. He's very talented, great mimic, except he can't do Trump. Can't do Trump. He can do anybody else but Trump. And now there are some, I think Shane, whatever his name is, does a great Trump. Everybody, and the fellow, something Austin, does the best Trump ever on SNL. Better than Trump does. But Alec Baldwin couldn't do this. Alec Baldwin can imitate Tony Bennett. Great. I can't do that. But he's very good. There's an Al Pacino, which is great. Wonderful. But a good actor. Absolutely. Glenn Ross plays a great prick. You notice that? I don't even think he's acting. Okay. So something happened, which is very easy. Please bear with me. Please. He was a big Hollywood lefty. He was a guy whose politics was almost infantile. He suffered from a source of political infantilism. Why? First of all, NPR, somebody said, let's give him a podcast or let's give him a show. And he talks like this. He's obviously hearing himself in the headphones for the first time. And you modulate. I hear it all the time. That's why some of the best podcasts, you tell people, don't wear headphones. Don't wear headphones. Just talk to me. Hey, can I put on these headphones? Is these headphones? Yeah, you don't put no. No, I'm gonna wear the headphones. Okay, but you really, we're not gonna be taking any calls. Can I wear the headphones? Okay. Oh no, yeah. How you doing? Okay. Hey. And they've never heard themselves, and they're modulating. Well, yeah. I'm talking to Jim Neighbors. Who is this? What are you doing? Okay. Yeah, I knew Vince Carter and the whole thing. 5 after the hour coming at you. It's Bomby. And tonight, Brian Auger. Oh, that FM voice. You know what I mean? Anyway. Well, that was Alec Baldwin. I'm thinking, why is he talking like this? And he was so interested in his voice, he forgot what he was saying. So I didn't even know what the hell it was. Then he did something on MSNBC where he said, okay, let's give him a show. And they sat like next to each other. It was, remember the configuration? One was sitting here and they were like, anyway. I think his first guest was the actress in What was her name? The one in Urban Cowboy, and then she was one Deborah Winger. Remember that one? It's like, what? Deborah Winger. I think it was Deborah Winger. And then Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York. I said, what is he? He had no idea. He was off the rails, off the skids, off the mark, out of his tree when it came to applying, because his politics was base. It was stupid. It was absolutely stupid. Remember that crazy? She looked like a crack. I'm not saying she was, but remember she was screaming at him, and he was very, very good. He got up and he left, and anyway. So he does this thing called whatever it's called, rust or dust or bust, and he plays it, and the poor woman is shot. And I have said repeatedly, I do not believe he personally is looking at criminal liability for what he did. He might be civilly liable. He might have been extremely negligent, but I don't believe he's done anything in any way to indicate criminal liability in terms of negligence or manslaughter, or as we say, man's laughter, depending upon how you look at it. Okay. Note, dear friends, number one, Hollywood never came to his help. Hollywood never came to help him. Hollywood never came to help him. If Ron Howard had a situation where somebody was shot, if Ponzi or Fonzie or whoever the other, Potsy or whoever these people are, Fonzie, if they had been shot, let's say on something that he was directing, I promise you everybody would have come out of the woodwork. If Clint Eastwood even, he's a conservative, they would have said, oh, no, Clint, we've all done guns before, and it's a certain risk. It goes with the... No, you're wrong about that. And if Scorsese, think of all the guns in Goodfellas and this and that and the stabbings, if somebody had been hurt, they would have come out of the woodwork. Nobody helped Alec Baldwin. That was the signal to him. It's over. It's done. It's finished. It's through. Finished. Done. Okay. So Alec was married to Kim Basinger. I don't know what happened. Remember, she bought a town. And then it went bankrupt. I don't know what something. Then he had this kid, Ireland. Have you seen Ireland, lady? Ireland's like 50 years old. The daughter, he called him a little pig. You're a little pig. Remember, somehow, this was terrible. And I thought that wasn't fair. That wasn't fair. Any of you have parents? Are you parents? Okay. Have you ever said something to your kids where you thought, oh my God, if anybody heard that, because your kids, you want to kill them. They say something to you, and I've seen it. Sometimes my mother would say, very rarely, but sometimes we'd say something that was so terrible, we'd laugh. It was so terrible. But if that had been recorded on a phone call, and I don't know their history, but I thought, he didn't hurt her. He said it. Okay, it was rude. Come on. Well, anyway, become a little pig. If you've seen her lately, he might have been prescient. And I know that was cruel to say that, but it's true. Okay. And by these new, Alec has Stephen, who I know, known for a few years. Stephen will DM me sometimes. I don't know what he's talking about. I have no idea. And one time I was there and he said something to me, and I forget what it was. And I'm looking and I go, what? I don't know what he's saying. Like some of your comments. Just completely. Oh, yeah? Well, maybe if you turn it the other way versus it twice, it wouldn't strike as much because it wouldn't be stopped because it's the lid. What? Huh? That's Stephen. What? And he's, of course, by the way, interesting. Stephen was married, is married, I believe, to Eomir Deodato's daughter. Oh, CTI, Baubles, Bangles, and Beads, and 2001, and the whole bit. Anyway, so one time I was talking to Stephen, and I had my phone, because I dictate. I don't go like that. So what I did was this. I had the phone, the TV on, and I just held the phone up, and there's an ad for some, I don't know what it was. Void were prohibited. It's if itching, scratching, call a doctor immediately. And I looked at it and I said, okay, that's good enough. I don't know what it was, but it was basically a combination of ads, and I edited a little bit and I sent it. He understood it somehow and said, I couldn't agree more. I'm thinking, this guy. Okay. But he's a good guy. Very, very funny. Okay. So he's a born again Christian. Fine. Then there's Stephen. No, he was Stephen. Then there's Billy. Billy's married to that lunatic. What's her name? China Phillips. I don't know where she is. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know what the hell. She's with Jesus. And God, she is arrebatado, gone. And there's a fellow, the guy who was on the 70s show, does an invitation, because y'all have those eyes, except for Alec. So that's Billy. Daniel Baldwin was on, I think, Patrick Bet David, maybe, or Joe Rogan. I don't know. By the way, by the year 2027, everybody in the United States will have been on the Patrick Bet David show. Another story I'm going to ask is, question I have. Who cares about Dave Portnoy? What kind of a deal does he say? I will pay you $100,000, or he must. Dave Portnoy upset over a bet where he could have won. Excuse me, who? The pizza guy. Have you ever seen his pizza reviews? Stupid. I mean, he helps people, this and that. Remember, keep an eye on him. Dave's got. Remember I told you, when I tell you, keep an eye on it. A lot of people say some interesting things about Dave, but you never know. But keep an eye on him. I think he's a complete jadrul. He's a subtard. I know he's got all kinds of money. He says nothing that is even remotely intelligent, but it's okay. It's a free country. Just as an aside. So anyway, back to Alec Baldwin. So Alex, at the end of the trajectory, it's over with. He was doing that Hunt for Red October, and then I think he pissed off the CIA, because that was complete and total. That was a psyop. That was a absolutely 100% funded by CIA. Tom Clancy didn't write shit. They gave it to him. You're going to do this. This guy all of a sudden knew all this. Stop it. And they've been pumping this stuff ever since. So anyway, Alec decides, no, I'm going to go off. I'm going to do something else. I think it might have pissed him off. Okay, cut to the chase. He's doing this stuff. He's being sued by everybody. He's just oafish and nobody really cares about him anymore. And he's doing this thing. Okay. He marries Hilaria, or I call her Hilarious. She's born in Massachusetts, and for some reason believes that she is Charo, or she's the one from Friends or Family Guy or whatever her name is, the one who talked like this. Listen to me, listen, Betty, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, she all of a sudden she's pretending she has a Spanish accent. I've never seen anything like this. British, yes. Madonna, Linda McCartney, bless her heart. Maybe she just heard it. All of a sudden, talking about Paul. Excuse me, what? Who? We were when? What? Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp took on this accent. But Spanish is one thing when you speak English, because that's you could be a mistress or master of erudition. It was about, for I see, I hearken unto thee, I pray prithee, for thou art gainsay to you. And at least it's theoretically English. It may have a British accent, might be a bit stylized, but it's expatiate thy loins. You could do fake Shakespeare. That's fine. Hilaria, hilarious. By the way, there's also Pope Hilarious, one of my favorites, which is true. Hilaria said, no, I'm going to do a Spanish accent. And she goes, listen, my husband makes these, I make something. Now, she had been doing this for a while. And I said, hey, douche, don't you understand? Is she going to speak like that for the rest of her life? Yeah. Well, she has to. How do you stop having an accent overnight? Henry Kissinger had an accent his whole life. So she went from, listen to me, my husband. They say he doesn't like, how you say cebolla, onions. This is her new thing. Before she didn't know the word cucumber. And there's a little bit going around, a little clip where she says, my husband doesn't like vegetable. No, that's not what they said. And I'm thinking, hey, numbnuts, why is Charo doing this again? She's back to that? I thought that was over with. Now they're laughing at her. You schmuck. Here's what I think happened. Just completely my guess. She says, listen, Pops, I want to be a star. I've tried everything. I did this yoga bullshit. I'm bending over backwards. I'm picking up small change without using my hands. I'm squatting over this. I'm drinking one like this. She's always had her bare feet, and I'm drinking coffee with my feet, and I'm eating with the feet. I'm doing this with my feet. I'm doing the yoga, the splits, and the lotus, and that's not working. Nobody cares because but believe it or not, I hate to bring it, yoga is not exactly thrilling. You know, I mean, people have seen it. So she says, leasing. And I'm sure he says, listen, you don't have to do this at home. Well, I got to stay in character. We're going to do something called, what's it called? Growing up with living the Baldwins? Being the Baldwins? Growing up Baldwin, the Baldwin. So anyway, he lives kind of in the village somewhere. And he's my age. We're all the 1958 club. Me, Madonna, Prince, Alec, Angela Bassett, Michael Jackson. But we're all the 1958 club. So he's my age. And for reasons I don't know, he's thinking, I'm tired. I've got Data Big. I got her, a couple of kids. How many kids do they have now? 12? 15? 7 or 8? I don't even know. And some of these ones listen. It's none of my business. But I don't think you should be having a lot of kids when you're older. You know what I mean? You know, we talk about what makes sometimes kids, dare I say, spectral. And one of the things we will find out, in addition to the other particular indicia, the other pathogens, I think, is going to be older sperm, older eggs, older. So, and I'm not saying these were necessarily not harvested or surrogate, but I'm not buying any of this. Okay, just like Beyonce. Remember Beyonce? All of a sudden, Beyonce's about 65 years old. But no, this is the biggest company. Don't get me started with that. So anyway, here's Alec is saying, oh, for the love of God. I'm just tired. I got all these kids. What's your name? Who is it? Benny? Teddy? Who's this? That's my son. I don't even know who these kids are. Because she says, you don't understand something. I am going to be a star. And this yoga shit's not working. And I'm not working. And I got to walk around sounding like Senor Wences all the time. All right. Hello, Johnny. Hello, Johnny. Hello. Okay. I'm doing that. I'm doing Cheetah Rivera. I want to be animated. This isn't working. This is my last chance, bucko. So we're going to do this Baldwin family thing. And he is sick of it. I think there were some rumors he didn't even want to do it. Or whatever. So anyway, so she's doing it because nobody cares. Because listen, we're done with that. We're moving on. When it mattered, when there was cable, believe it or not, growing up, Gotti was terrific. Victoria Gotti was, and those kids, would you hurry up? Where's my hair product? I'm thinking, what am I watching? It made me hate those kids, if anything else. But it was the first one there was. This genre has left the station, and he's so tired of it. So today, I know this is a long way to get there, but it's like, no, it's not like, it is exactly. She is deciding to resurrect one of the most embarrassing, stupid things ever. Because once you come up with this bit, you're stuck with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Sparky says, free Greenland from Danish tyranny. Absolutely. That's what our president's doing. Also, odd people have odd children. I think maybe you're right, but not always. Surprisingly, sometimes not. And also sometimes very good people have terrible children. It's a crapshoot. Do you have siblings? Do you have siblings where you ask yourself, am I related to this? There's a fellow who he's a great comedian. I don't know his name. But he's very good. And he said, I think my sister was raised by her best friends because I don't recognize these people. And I thought, you know what? I can relate to that. Those people who have younger siblings. Nelson A says, Mr. Al, the drones are back in New Jersey. Well, nothing to see here. Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we begin, my friends, let me tell you something. We're at the end of the year. And as you know, it is time for me to talk to you about what you would do in the event of complete and total devastation when there is absolutely the end of times as we know it. Prepare with Lionel. Now they've got this thing. I don't know. They have it. It still says Christmas deal. Okay, fair enough. Who am I to say? It says shop our Christmas deal. But beneath that, I think that link may be. Anyway, but they've got one right now. A deal you can't believe. Save $100 on a 3-month food supply. Do me a favor. Take the Mr. or the Mrs., sit in bed, get your little iPad out, and just look at the stuff you can buy. And you'll say to yourself, I never thought of that. How about 100-hour candles? I never thought of that. How about water? How about, in fact, a lot of the stuff you don't really need, like water purification things and different filtration devices. Look, you don't need me to explain to you why I think food is a good idea, and emergency food. Preparewithlionel.com is simply the best. And one more time, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. The great, the glorious, the one, the only, the inimitable, the ineffable, the ineluctable Mr. Mike Lindell. For your edification, perusal, and review, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Seeing is believing. You understand this? Seeing, dear friend, is believing. Andrew Hessing says, have you heard of a paper published in the Open Journal for Applied Science, an ongoing study of UAP off the shore of Long Island? John and Jerry Tedesco. I do not know. I do not know. I will look for that. There's a randomness to genetics, but 3 in 5 children will genetically be like their parents. I'm sure that's true. I find that the whole notion of Mendelian genetics and the like is something that fascinates me. There are some, have you ever noticed some, how do I say this? There are some relatives, put it this way, some families where they look nothing like the mother or nothing like the father. And they all, how about the Kennedys? The Kennedys all got that horsey, that tooth, the Osmonds, the Kennedys. They all look alike. They all have that look. The royal family, except for, of course, Harry, Andrew, but the rest of them, Anne, Margaret, Liz, even, bless his heart, Wills, he's kind of got that Lido face, that kind of that look, that Charles look. What was that king? Was it King III who had that one particular, because of their recessive genes, there was that look they had. There was a particular lip deformity or what have you. In any event. Now, I don't know what to tell you about this wonderful story about the drones, but the moral of the story is nothing happened. The point that is missed is, let's assume one day, and listen to me and do not write for a moment, please, those of you. And if you're driving, take everything out of your mind other than keeping your eye on the road. I want you to imagine the following event occurs. Somewhere over Weehawken, near the Helix, where the Whole Foods is, all of a sudden, everybody's got their phone out, and there appears to be I guess a craft, an absolute craft that you recognize. It hovers. It's not. Okay, stuff comes back or whatever it is. Let's just assume maybe somebody comes out, maybe they don't. Are you working with me on this? John Lennon reported on the east side, not too far from the UN, he saw one come right over, and he drew it, and he saw it right over there it was. I don't think he was making it up or whatever, but he sees a craft. All right, work with me on this. So let's say 1,000 people. I don't know how, at any given time how many people are watching this. You know how many people on the coming out of the going into the tunnel, but also there might be 5,000 people there. Who knows? Looking down in buildings. And now here is a story. What do you think would happen? Yes, the Habsburg jaw. Correct. Thank you so much. Leave it to you, my friend. Leave it to Sparky to know that kind of a there's this woman. Her name was Vowel. She was a comedian of sorts. She was on the Daily Show. Her name was Emily Vowel, and she had a mouth that was so mesmerizing to me. There was another woman. She does Middle East. I think she lives in Lebanon. I don't know where. So she has that thing. I don't know what she's saying. You have no idea. I'm fascinated by mouths. We were watching last night. Mrs. L, I'm glad to say, finally watched every episode of Lillehammer. Have you seen that? One of the best shows ever on Netflix. And Stevie Van Zandt, whose mouth, what is that? What is that? I don't know. I've never seen. Is it the lip, the jaw, the mouth? I don't know. And he had on, of course, Bruce Springsteen as the underbite. The Sopranos had the lispers. Pussy, Walnuts, the FBI agent. And then, I mean, it was, it was overwhelming. The people who have unique ways of phrasing. All right, back to this. I'm going to change my order. Oh, what am I saying? No, more important. See, I got onto that, and then I was really involved, and I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to go in this direction. I asked you the question, what happens if there was a craft that landed? You know what would happen? Nothing. Nothing. You might hear somebody, well, I think Chuck Scarborough finally hung up the thing. Well, that's right. Last night, the Weehawkians had something to look at. That's right, Dave. Well, tell me, well, Clarice, it seems like there was a lot of motorists and reported a craft of some sort. Do we have pictures of it? Well, we have these. They really don't know what it is. And I'll tell you what, it's got a lot of people's attention. So we're going to follow up with that. Coming up, sports and weather. How are the Jets going to do this weekend? That's the way they would do it. They would do absolutely nothing. The Tedescos... apostrophe S. The Tedescos what? Tedescos is just S. The Tedescos presented some of their findings in an interview on YouTube from cameras dedicated to a specific spectrum radar and frequency monitor. Okay. I think that's worth knowing. We'll follow that one. But here's the thing, Andrew. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody will do anything. That's what the moral of the story was regarding the what you call your drones. Nothing will do anything. Nothing will do anything. Lionel Nation, is there a Powerball in your pocket? No, I get this thing called Jack Pocket. I always play $1 or whatever the minimum is for Powerball, Mega, Lotto, and I think there's 3. I think that's it. $1 per week or per thing. That's it. I said it isn't news. All right, crypto. Good for you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Now, next, plane accidents. Why are there so many plane accidents? Anybody looking at this? I don't know. Why? I don't know. You think that's a bit odd? Yeah, I think so. Anybody noticing? No. Think a bit odd? Yeah. And the last one where the planes almost like bumped into each other. It's incredible. Next, and this is important. Oh, look at this. Weaponized cats. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Weaponized cats. That's a super sticker, ladies and gentlemen. How many countries? I'm going to go back. It's American culture. I was watching before. How many countries have? Let me see if I can. When we're done, not now, but you have your YouTube available. I want you to go and I want you to put in the search engine, Karens arrested. That's it. Karens arrested. First, 99% are women. Black and white, old and young, rich and poor, women. How many countries have that? If I said Karens arrested in China, drunken women go, "That's a half a day. Up you. I'm going to talk to you. I know my rights. I'm a sovereign citizen." None. They don't have. I mean, they could, but they don't. They don't do that. Any other? I don't know if they. I don't know. But American. You want there are channels. There's so much of them. Karen's arrested for drunk driving. Karen's arrested for, this is my favorite, the Walmart theft. They got you. They show you on the monitor. Here you are. Okay. Our culture. What is our culture? By the way, today, Mrs. Ellen and I we're going to be doing a New Year's Eve show tomorrow. Get ready. We have our glasses. We went out and bought our glasses. We bought our glasses. Went to a very nice store on 8th Avenue or 9th Avenue. It was very nice. And there was an Indian man. I think he was Indian. He's got a store all filled with everything. Make America Great Again. Trump this, Trump. He had everything you can imagine. Hard-working Indian man. I think he was Indian. Not an American store. Indian, working hard. So we got our glasses. And we'll be doing that. We're going to be, we'll be with you tomorrow night. It's the last show of the year. Until the next day, which will be the first show of the year. In any event. But everybody's going crazy for the New Year's Eve. I can tell you, in all my years, I have never, ever, even remotely gotten anywhere near Times Square, the ball, the people. Never. They get there tomorrow at like in the afternoon, and they wait. Get there in the morning and they wait. This is demented. They should just corral these people, take them to a mental hospital, and find out why do they do this. But that's going to be. Do you remember when I remember one of the most memorable New Year's ever was rocking New Year's Eve was Chicago, and they were playing "Wishing You Were Here" with the Beach Boys, Al Jardine, and I think Carl Wilson. They were backing him up. It was Chicago. It was terrific. I remember that one. I remember Guy Lumbago and his 21 Pains. We watched a documentary on how huge Guy Lombardo was. Guy Lombardo. Then every year it was Dick Clark. Dick Clark. Then Dick Clark had, of course, his stroke, and people were saying, Dick. And I did a whole show one time, a whole topic. It was a talk radio topic of when is it okay to say your stroke is bothering me? Now, this is a terrible thing to say, isn't it? For example, Stephen Hawking doesn't bother me. It's a machine. Looking at him wasn't exactly pleasant, but you know what I mean? I kind of expected it, whatever it was. Do you remember afterwards when Kirk Douglas had his stroke? He would say, "Oh, Kirk, you will never see me do that, by the way." And then later on, it was Dick Clark. And I thought, Dick Clark, I remember him so well. So people got it was the best talk radio topic. I said, he goes, I give him credit. Okay. But do you want to, is it okay for me to say it bothers me? Hey, you can't say a man's stroke bothers you. I'm not saying, I don't want the guy arrested, but it's a TV show. It's a broadcast. We used to have it all of our contracts. If anything happens to you, if you lose your voice, if anything, it's done. It's like a force majeure, so to speak. I'll never forget that. One year when I was a kid, I was watching the Academy Awards, and I don't know what it was, but they brought out Kate Smith, and Bob Hope pushed her out in a wheelchair. And I remember the time, everybody in my family, we said, oh my God, it was the scariest thing. It's like, this is not good. So when does it become not good? When does it become, you know what I mean? When, it's a fascinating topic, but perhaps not now. Next, when is the bird flu going to come? Do you think they're going to do the bird flu? Alex Jones is my favorite. He is no better. Alex has lost a lot of weight, looks good, looks better. Alex is out someplace where there's snow, and he's doing this thing, and he's holding up his camera, and he does it. He's so good. He goes, I'll tell you right now, they're going to come out here with H251, there's a flu. We're not going to do it this time. They're going to come out for our rights. We do last time to come over the road, we're not going to do it again. We're not going to do it both days. It doesn't go from person to person. There's not one person who got to go through who caught it from a bird. It's not zoonotic. It's not zoonotic. It goes through a bird. We're not going to do it to take our liberty. I thought, he's back. I don't know what he's saying, but I love this. But the question is, you know and I know they're going to try to do something. You know and I know they're going to do something. That's number one. Number two, you know and I know they're going to do something to push and stretch this Jimmy Carter lugubrious nonsense as far as they possibly can. You know and I know that they're going to make him to be. They also, do you know there were 21 times where the stock market was closed over the death of presidents? 21 times. Never knew it. Jimmy Carter, why they're going to do this? To screw up anything they can for President Trump. Nobody cares. Crypto Domini says you have a better chance of getting free tampons in Minnesota than catching bird flu. Hey, that's very good. That is excellent. I never understood one thing. May I ask a question? And nobody's asked this question. I don't want to be crude. Where does a man put his tampon? I'm sorry. But it's like, okay, you want it? Yeah. Where are you going to put this? I'm just curious. I mean it. I'm not trying to be gross. A little bit. But nobody's ever answered that question. What are you supposed to do with it? I don't know. What do you do with that? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you something. I love the fact that Wiles or whatever, that there's some rule. They have this no social media rule. I love that. I love that. I love that more than anything else. You tell Tulsi and Bobby Jr., I'm going to say something right now, and I know this is wrong to say, but every time, I never feel good when Bobby Kennedy speaks. I never do. I always want to say, you know what? That's okay. No. Please don't hurt yourself. Doesn't sound like he's painful. Like, no, he doesn't hurt. No, I want him to get through because it's like it hurts. Seems like it hurts. It's like he was screaming at a concert the night before. It's gotta hurt. I always feel bad that we're asking him these questions. One time when I was a kid, we had a guy in Tampa, Dr. Weissman. And this guy, Morris Weissman or Wiseman, Waisman. And he was always, hi, how are you? And that's the way he sounded. And all of us had zits one year. Well, I think we're in the 9th grade. And all of us went to Dr. Weissman. And his office hours were like 3 a.m. We would go there before school. And you would sit on this table with these lights. I don't know where these like runway lights were. It's like, oh my God. I mean, the morning, this is bad. I'm 50. I'm not a morning person. And he had this thing where he made this topical thing. Now, he came in, imagine a mortar and pestle, but I guess just the mortar. And in there was this dry ice and this medicine. Now, I'm going to tell you the story, and you're going to think I'm making this up. He had a nurse who had, this is a dermatologist's office, who had a mole with hair coming out of it. It was like a hydra. I thought, you work? And I was just a kid at a dermatologist's office. He would do it. Doesn't he ever look at this and say, I'm going to take that damn thing off? Don't you wonder when people have moles? Eric Weinstein, wonderful property, got these big moles like the Schmengi brothers. Don't you? I would say, take this thing off. How bad can it be? It's growing. Robert De Niro, cut that thing off. That's all I look at. It's me. I'm weak. So anyway, there I was in the morning staring at this light, and this nurse with the hair, with the pencil, she would take with a tongue depressor and lather this freezing, ice cold. It's like one of those gastro, like remember Fallon or Fazan from Bouli? You know those. You would take the liquid nitrogen and make. Oh look, it's olives, but it's the air of anyway. You've seen those big tanks, liquid nitrogen. He's putting this in our faces. We're burning. Don't touch it. Staring into the light with this woman with a hairy thing. And then later on, we couldn't touch it. So we're at PE or running, and this stuff would drip into our eyes. Anyway, one day I walk in, and I'm in a weird sense of humor. Dr. Weissman or Wiseman, people pronounce it differently. He couldn't speak. I don't know what happened. He had polyps or something, who knows? And so help me God, he had a little, you know the magic slate? Remember when you could run like this and you lift it up and you could draw it and, this a little, it was Donald Duck. Never forget, Donald Duck magic slate. And the woman with the hairy thing says, he can't speak today. So if you have to ask him a question, go ahead, but don't ask, deep questions, what is life? And I would meet, we're in the waiting room, and I would come out like this sometimes, covering an eye. I walk out. One time I wore a mask like a balaclava. I thought that was funny. People were wondering, how bad is this guy's face? Anyway, so I walked in and said, listen, the guy's got a magic slate, and he doesn't want anybody to ask him deep questions. All right. So everybody ask him the most important, the most difficult question you can that cannot possibly be written on a magic slate. Like, yeah, doctor, what causes this? Oh, for Christ's sake. And I thought at the time, and this is what I knew of from a different planet. I said, this is one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life. I mean, truly, truly, truly funny. I'm sitting here in a room, my face covered in this purple covered stuff put on with a tongue depressor and liquid nitrogen. I got a nurse with a mole with a hair in it. I got a guy who can't talk, and he's talking to me on a magic slate. This is funny. This is funny, and I have to somehow write a script or a sketch. I want to share this. And I knew, and I would tell people, I said, don't you see how funny this is? People, they know, not really. I said, no, seriously, look at us. We're covered in this stuff. Anyway, that's the story of my life. I see things differently. I don't fit in. I don't expect to fit in. And I don't really care. I do care about this, though. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you checked your devices for malware? Malware attacks have increased 643% since 2020, with approximately 10 million personal and corporate devices compromised with data stealing malware in just the last year alone. Additionally, 19.8% of computers face at least one malware attack annually. This emphasizes the critical need for individual users to protect themselves, their devices, and their data. This is why I use today's sponsor, Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, and I love the peace of mind it gives me. Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro is an award-winning antivirus with real-time protection, malware removal, ad blocking, scheduled scans, multi-device protection, and more that stops malicious downloads in their tracks. Without Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, I would risk my finances, banking details, personal data, and more getting into the hands of cyber criminals. Thanks again to Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro for sponsoring today's extravaganza. And do yourself a favor and sign up for a free 7-day free trial, of Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro during their early Black Friday sale happening now, and get up to 75% off. Yes, you heard that. Up to 75% off only at virtualshield.com/Lionel. Once again, that's virtualshield.com/Lionel. Soul 76 says, stop recording me. It's against the law. I'm going to call the cops on you. I want to speak to the manager. Every Karen ever. Indeed. Very quickly, is everybody ready for tomorrow? Do you have your evening planned? Huh? Oh, the provisions. I always thought that New Year's was one, I think in my entire life, I think I went to one New Year's Eve party. I think once. I never, it was always amateur night. Huh? Oh, we stay in. It's amateur night. I don't want to hang around drunks. And I never. Who? What is the new trend they're trying to? Oh, well, the new trend they're trying to say to stay home. I have no interest in this. But what is everybody's doing? Everybody, what is it? Oh, down in Ybor. Oh, that's where I was born. Centro Asturiano Hospital. It's not there anymore. And my father was born there. My grandma, we lived on 20th Avenue, right by Cascaden Park. Look at this. So there you go. It's low key. It's for everybody. Candlelight bowling. What else? Absolutely. I'm going to watch them, And then they say, hey, it's 2025. Oh, okay. It means nothing to me. So today we bought a bunch of stuff. We're going to make a kind of a fun thing. We got some provisions. Mrs. L's going to make up her lasagna. We're just going to enjoy doing my thing. And let me also tell you something. I am more, believe it or not, I live more of a ribald, intellectually concupiscent life now than I ever did when I was in my 20s. I was never a big, when you're young, you think you want to hang out at bars because you don't really know what to do. You don't know. And then as soon as you figure that out, you go, no, this isn't it. And I've always been like this my entire life. Crypto Domini says, mango chilada for everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you. Isn't that wonderful? Look at this. I may be in Allentown to enjoy the cuisine and festive celebrations. Love shrimp. Just wish you wasn't deathly allergic to it. Well, there's these things you got to go like this. Hey, Auld Lang Syne is the saddest song. It is horrid. It's not for me. Anyway, I think Johnny Mazes says Carter was wheeled out in a stretcher. Disgusting. You just noticed that, huh, Johnny? Just noticed that, right, bud? Don't let anybody say Johnny Maz doesn't know what's going on. That's the first thing I saw. He was an Angelo Bruno. It's horrible. With the mouth frozen, the maw, not the rictus, the mouth agape, as it were. Horrible. All right, my friend. Listen, I want to thank you so much. We got one more day to go, and then 2024 is behind us. Johnny Maz, Spaz, Crypto Domini, Soul 76, thank you so much. Weaponized Cats, thank you. Sparky, thank you, sir. I know Sparky is sitting, not sitting Shiva, that's wrong. But I know that you are putting a candle in the window for Benjamin Netanyahu, as you are wont to do. Nelson A, thank you. And by the way, speaking of prostates, or prostrate, as some people say, I used to always say, that I'm a big believer in prostate self-examination. Now, if you think of this, it's very funny. And nobody even responds. I said, well, how do you do that? I said, stand on a chair. I said, oh, okay. My friend, please check out Mrs. L's Lynn's Warriors. Oh, yeah, we got to follow. Oh, yeah, this. Sometimes you'll be sitting there, all of a sudden it's like, what happened? How can people not, how? Oh, look at this. Jim Thorpe is awesome during Christmas. Is this Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania? We went there. Was it Pennsylvania, right? We went to Jim Thorpe. We went to see Roseanne there. We went to Jim Thorpe, stayed in a very nice little kind of a quaint place on Main Street. I liked it. And Jim Thorpe had nothing to do with Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Crypto says, proud of you, Uncle. Thank you so much. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious night. Tomorrow is the ultimate New Year's Eve, my friends. What a day, what a celebration. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your love. 2025 is going to be a great year. Until then, my friends, or it's going to be the worst ever. One of the two. I don't know. In any event, have a great and glorious night. Don't forget these final words. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dad.